Welcome back to another episode of Man Cave Movie Night. Hey, Jared and Lucas.
Hey,
Hey.
Niall.
You guys know how I have been kind of hard to get in contact with over like the last week and a half ish.
Yeah, I was going to ask what's up,
Yes.
but
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
couldn't.
really concerned for you.
So basically, what happened, I didn't tell you guys this, but I went to Rome.
Hey,
Oh.
the Eternal City.
Yeah, to go to the Fast X premiere
Oh,
because I got some tickets to it. Yeah, I was just kind of embarrassed because I
You
spent.
got some, wait, you got
I
some
spent-
tickets, plural, and
Well,
you
yeah.
didn't invite us?
So what happened? Listen,
Yeah,
the
who'd
long
you
and
go
short
with?
of it is I was embarrassed by how much I had to spend on it, and I didn't want to get hassled about it, and so I just went.
Hmm,
But here's the thing: I know you're upset now, but
pissed.
it's good news because I got us a sponsor.
Really?
Oh,
I did some networking out there, and I actually was able to talk to Vin Diesel.
Vinny.
Himself,
Um,
the man himself.
Yeah, and he told me, he handed me kind of a crumpled up piece of paper. We started talking about the podcast, and he mentioned that he would like to sponsor the podcast, and he's
He
excited
himself.
about it as
Cool.
long as we talk about Fast X. And I was like, yeah, like totally, we can do that. He handed me a crumpled up piece of paper. He told me not to open it until I was doing the ad read, but he started a company.
Really?
So
Okay.
Interesting. I didn't
let
know
me
about this.
get this paper out. It's crumpled to the point where like the paper's like soft, like
Uh-huh.
this
Yeah.
clearly has been
Like
passed around a
very-
little bit.
Mm.
So I'm just gonna do the ad read real quick and then we can get into the episode. But like
Cool.
this is big news.
I'm excited.
So
Yeah.
I'm excited. Okay. This episode of insert podcast name here. Okay. This episode of Man Cave Movie Night is brought to you by Car. Okay.
Oh.
Oof. Car, roll forward, go fast, four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, zoom zoom Mazda, fast school zone speed bump, two-wheel drive, Corolla car, cars, left turn, left, four-way stop, three-way stop, northbound driving cars, steering wheel, left turn, four-wheel drive, left turn, upholstery, repair windshield, okay, mirror, seat, wheel, tire, period. Steering wheel, road, left turn, four-wheel drive, off-roading, Autobahn, all-wheel drive, left turn, fast. So thank you, Vin Diesel. Thank
All
you,
right.
Car.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Car.
Car.
Oh,
This
I
is a
love
huge
Car.
opportunity for us, and we're really excited to have you guys sponsoring us. So let's get into the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get into it.
What more can be said?
Welcome back to another episode of Man Cave Movie Night, everybody. I'm Niall,
I'm
Car.
Jared.
and
Car.
this week we are really excited to talk about Fast X.
Oh, genuinely, I am so excited to talk to someone about this because I haven't
Yes.
talked to anyone about
Me
it yet.
too.
I
Jared and
I watched it by myself, and then
Yeah.
we're recording this
wow.
the next
You
day.
watched
and
it
I'm
by
so
yourself.
excited.
You
Yeah,
gotta
well,
get
'cause it
this
was-
out of your
I
system.
don't know
man.
anyone near me who would want to pay to see this movie,
Oh,
and I use my
Ugh,
movie pass. So I didn't
shame.
even technically pay. So I was just like, "Hey, there's an open showing. I might as well go see it because I don't know when else I'll be able to."
sure.
And you saw it IMAX 3D?
I did not see it in IMAX 3D.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately,
What an
That's a
experience.
shame.
it could've
Movie
been.
Pass does not let you do IMAX 3D, just
Those
standard
jerks.
showing.
flaw in
Selfish
the system.
jerks.
I know.
So Jared and I talked a little bit about it last night after we saw it together, but
And during. We talked about it during.
Like during. But we kind of held off on a lot of it actually so that we could kind of have some fresh stuff to say. So I'm really excited about it. We all saw it yesterday for us, which is however many days ago for the listeners, but
Friday. We watched it Friday.
we watched it on Friday. Very good. So let's do just kind of first impressions, and then we'll get into talking about all the spoilers, because I know you guys don't want Fast X spoiled for
No,
you.
you do
No,
not
no,
want this
no,
one
no.
spoiled. You want to go into it with a completely fresh
Not at
palette.
all. This is the Infinity War of the Fast and Furious franchise.
Truly.
Leading into the end game, of course.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
so
it
if
is.
you
And then
knew
leading
what was
into
going to happen
Endgame
going
too.
in, yeah. So I will start.
Let's hear it.
I freaking loved it.
Oh yeah.
I loved it so much. And here's the thing. I know that this isn't just me like loving it ironically, because I know what loving a Fast and Furious movie ironically feels like. I left F9 the Fast Saga feeling that, being
Yeah.
like that was awesome, but like having
But
it
in
be
reality,
ironically,
you're like, no.
really it was
No,
trash.
Yeah.
This one I genuinely loved watching. I had so much fun. It was like obviously not like Citizen Kane, but I thought that Jason Momoa was born to be in the Fast and Furious franchise.
Absolutely.
He was so much fun in this movie. All
He
of
definitely
the
fits well. Yeah.
all of the little cameos alongside all of like kind of the bigger just presences of different characters, it felt so good and so satisfying a lot of the time. Like it really felt like they were just like, okay, what do you want, and we'll give it to you. And I loved that they took the space from F9 and they reeled it back in to something that felt, shockingly, this movie felt more grounded. It was really fun and I loved it. So that's my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like this one, I was telling Niall, is straddling the line between like 1 foot in our world and 1 foot in some dystopian future world
In
with
the
lasers and with
Yeah.
doors that open with cubes
Uh-huh.
and
yeah.
rooms with people who are silhouetted and everything. And you're just
Yeah.
like, and then just roam. And
Yeah.
then it's
Yeah.
just like a weird
Mhm.
spot to be in. And I like
Yes.
it. They created
Yeah.
it's world building.
Yeah. Oh,
world
yeah.
that we get
World
to-
building at its
Totally.
finest as
We
well.
get to play in. I also loved it. I mean, as far as Letterbox goes and the rating as between 1 and 5 stars, I gave it a 3.5. But that's
7 out of
because
10. Pretty good.
that's because I liked it a lot, but there's some I genuinely like love, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
5,
same.
7, I think are great movies.
5, 1, and 7, I think, are the three that are all good, like actually good, fun
Right.
movies.
Yeah. This one, again, it's outlandish. It's over the top. It's jumping shark in every scene. But, it's a really fun time. I was laughing the entire time. Sometimes it was out of just the audacity of what I was seeing on screen. Sometimes it was adrenaline fueled serotonin laughs, but I was having a good time nonetheless. I wanted to say as well, before we just get into the movie, the theater that Niall and I went to was
Oh my gosh.
awesome.
Oh, really?
was
Was it
packed.
into it? Oh, dude, that's sweet.
And people had like shirts on and stuff.
Nice.
It was
when it
electric.
started, I did a little woo, and then a couple other people went woo, yeah. and then there was a part, and we won't spoil anything, where something was revealed and there was just murmuring throughout the whole theater.
People were
Everyone was
stoked.
turning, talking to everyone. And then when it ended, Niall and I started a clap and people joined.
Yeah, dude.
What are you talking? Post-credit scene or
Not
as the movie
post-credits.
itself ended?
Immediately
Yeah.
pre-credit.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
But yeah, there was just people cheering in the audience, and so that was really, really fun. It was a great experience.
It was
That
sweet.
is, it's actually kind of interesting that Niall made the Infinity War comparison, because this kind of has some similarities to
Oh,
Infinity War,
big
which
time.
I did not really process in my mind until Niall said that. I was like, wait a minute. Actually, they kind of do try and do an Infinity War, because a lot of the characters, like the characters start off all in their own separate things, and then we follow individual groups of characters as they go about with their missions or whatever. But there's not really like a main goal. There's no gauntlet or
Yeah.
stones. They're just
Yeah.
kind of moving.
Things happening to
things
the
are happening.
characters.
Exactly. So I watched this by myself. The theater had some people in it. It was funny, like a third of the way in, I just heard this noise and I was like, what is that? And I turn around and two of the people there just making out, just in the back
Fast
row.
X.
And there's like this family right next to me with like little kids. I'm
Oh,
like, what is
no.
why? It's not like it's an empty theater. Like it was in the middle of the day, but there was probably, 20, 30 people in there.
Oh my gosh.
Dave,
so
do you
that
want to
was-
just like on a Friday at 2 p.m. go see Fast X and make out the whole time?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I don't know.
disrespectful.
That's
Nah, it is.
disrespectful to us.
Vin Diesel would have some words for you.
So
And the words would be
So I went by myself, but I wasn't alone. And that was kind of funny because there were a few times I literally could not help myself from laughing at how awful the dialogue was.
Yeah.
I truly, okay. So what Niall said about Jason Momoa being born to be in the Fast universe, totally agree. Because I don't know if you guys remember when we talked about all of the Fast and the Furious movies, I said if there was a single good actor among them, then it would ruin the whole thing. And
Yep.
that continues to be the case. There's not a single good performance in this whole movie. And I'm not joking.
Well,
at
there
all.
are good
Disagree.
actors.
There's good actors, but they don't
but-
perform well. Brie Larson, horrendous.
Horrible.
Jason
I
Momoa,
loved Jason Momoa's performance. I loved
it
it.
was honestly one of the worst performances I've ever seen. He was like out of shape.
Hard disagree.
He was like, oh
Look, this
yeah, like you could see him like looking at cue cards, like, haha, Jason Momoa, it's me, guys. His like
This is Brazil.
hair was inconsistent, like his beard, his facial hair was all over the place. It was like, what is happening? That's
just
not to say, but
couldn't
that's not to
disagree
say
more.
I don't think he belonged in the movie, because I thought he belonged in the movie, but not because it was good.
I thought he
But none of these-
carried this
none of
movie
these
on his
characters-
shoulders.
Oh, dude,
No,
that
for me, it didn't feel
Ugh.
like he cashed it in. You know what I mean? It felt like he was just having fun.
it did
Yeah.
feel like he was having fun.
And so that's the whole extent of it for me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't think
that's
it's
fair.
good.
no,
You take him out and put him in a good movie, it'd be bad. You know?
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's
But
the
in
thing.
this universe where it's just he's just gonna milk it, have fun,
Yeah.
dance and around, sing
It
his little
felt-
song and stuff.
It almost felt like he was trying to do like Samuel L. Jackson in Kingsman,
Yeah.
Like,
just like
yeah,
fun, quirky villain, but also it was in Fast and Furious. So it
Yeah.
like totally undercut it.
Well,
Anyway,
it
Lucas.
felt original to this premise
Oh,
of
big time.
villain who wants revenge on Dom and his family,
Yeah.
which has been the past like 3
All of them,
movies,
yeah.
4 movies.
I really did like the opening sequence where it tied into Fast Five.
Yeah,
I thought that was
cool.
really cool. And then kind of how Fast
And then
Five
him
is like,
opening his eyes under the water. Oh,
yeah, oh, dude.
so
See, stuff
sick.
like that is like that's what makes these movies the movies. But it's also
That's what
why
makes these movies
a lot
the
of
movies.
people don't like them, because stuff like that, again, if you haven't watched the other 9 or 10, then you're not going to like this movie at all. Like I have some friends, Jake and Aaron Nibo, who saw only the I don't know why they went to see
Oh,
this.
that's
This is
why.
the only one they've seen.
Yeah.
Freaking
And
That's
they logged in
why.
on Letterboxd as a 1, and it's like, of course, if this had been the only one I had seen, I would have hated it. The
Yeah.
first half,
But it's a journey.
it's a journey. Exactly. No,
Between
we've had this
10-film
conversation
saga.
because I binged all 9 within a couple of weeks, and so I know, like, whatever. Fast X is the first one I've seen in theaters, actually, which is kind of crazy.
That's
And-
nuts. Not even F9.
No, because I hadn't seen any.
You
of
watched
them.
them
Yeah.
after F9
I watched
came
them
out?
all last year. Yeah.
Wow.
Or yeah, all
Yeah,
after
I think
F9 had
it's-
come out. And so the first half, though, honestly, was very difficult for me. all of the worst part of this movie is in the first half. The
Yeah.
dialogue over and over again, I just was laughing out loud. I could not keep it in because of how I don't even remember the specific lines. They were just so bad and forgettable, but delivered so poorly that I just my brain couldn't even process them. I just had to release a noise because it was just so funny.
Better than
Um,
F9's dialogue, at least.
Better,
Like,
yes, definitely. I still like F9, Well, no, I like F9 and the fact that it's a fast.
Yeah,
it
it's
did
part
feel
of it,
out
yeah.
of sorts. But
It's the
no,
worst
whatever.
one.
For
The
sure.
second half, though, I did like a lot more. That final dam action sequence, I thought was actually really cool. Like
Pretty
genuinely,
sweet.
I was engaged and I was really
Yeah.
into it.
Well,
And
and every time you thought it was done, it wasn't.
yeah,
More,
Mhm.
it was sweet.
and I'll say this, and this is a little bit embarrassing to say, but it ended, and I was like, I kind of want more.
Me too.
It was a 2.5 hour Fast and the Furious movie, and I was like, I
Yeah.
wasn't ready for it to be over, which is just so
100% same.
absurd. Oh,
It is the end game, you know.
yeah. I mean, it's like there is a cliffhanger ending, which felt so out of nowhere
Well,
because
I
it ends in a
know.
way, and I'm like, wait, is this the end? And then it cuts
Yeah.
to Michelle Rodriguez and Charlize Theron, and I was like, wait, what? And then that's the end. I'm like, whoa, what on earth? The movie's
Yeah.
just over
Yeah.
again because it's a 2-part saga. They just haven't filmed any of the next 2 parts. So yeah, that really was a little bit embarrassing. Like, just to myself, because the first half I was so not into it. I was like, come on. But then I will say I was engaged and entertained the whole time. There was no part where I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get up and leave, because
Yeah.
it was just, it was a Fast and the Furious movie and you got what you came for. I do think it's on the lower half of overall Fast movies. But yeah, it was an experience, to say the least. And the other thing is, I'll say I would be really willing to rewatch this, which is another
Big time.
just
Totally.
shame. I probably will rewatch
I'd
this,
say
honestly.
it's right in the middle for me, right? Like, of the 10, it's perfectly in the middle. It's not one of the good ones for me. It's
Yeah.
not one of the bad ones for me, but it was a fun one. I
Yeah.
still enjoyed it. Yeah, happy to have it.
It's upper half for me.
Yeah, I would say
So-
it's like middle of the pack for me too. I would say middle 3. Bottom 3 for me are F9, Fast and the Furious 6, and Tokyo Drift. Which may
Ooh.
be controversial. I don't know.
those first 2 make sense. Fast and
Yeah.
Tokyo Drift is
Tokyo
just
Drift
totally
is
wrong.
blasphemy.
Tokyo Drift, a lot of people don't like. That one was the first one I watched though, as well. And I watched it like
Right.
a year before watching any of the other ones, which honestly doesn't matter as much because it isn't connected to anything. Technically, they retroactively added
Whoa,
Han into the
Han.
movies.
Yeah.
And then
People
brought
liked
him
it
back.
so much, they're like, well, we should put him in more, but
Yeah,
he
exactly.
died. But that doesn't matter.
But
No,
it's
it doesn't
okay
matter. We'll
because
just pretend like he
technically,
hasn't
technically
gone.
this movie took place later in the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
It's just
exactly.
ridiculous.
Was it 7? Did he die in between 6 and 7 or 7 and 8?
He starts at the
can't
beginning
remember.
of 7.
That's
so
what it is,
Basically,
yep.
6, it goes 6 and then 3 and then 7
Yeah, which is
in the timeline.
Which is
Because
ridiculous.
at the end of
So-
6, Gal Gadot dies, and he's like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go to Tokyo. And so
yeah.
he
Yeah, that's what
leaves.
it is. Yep.
yeah.
Okay,
I remember that.
So, real quick, let's plant a flag. Spoilers from here on out. Okay, so if you've been listening to hear what we're gonna say about Fast X, and you've gotten excited and you want to go see it now, stop
And
listening.
But
Race to the
before
theaters.
before we get into spoilers, I have one thing I want to say. I'm wearing this Godfather shirt, and that is not an accident, because I want to read a Vin Diesel quote.
Remember when you accidentally put on a shirt?
Yeah,
That
that
relatable
accidental moment. So here is something he has said. This is a Vin Diesel quote about the Fast and the Furious
I
franchise.
remember this quote.
Yeah,
This
let's
is
hear
so
it.
funny.
This is around the time of Fast and the Furious 7. So Diesel has this is just from an article about it. Diesel has a lot of faith in the Furious franchise. He describes himself as the saga visionary, and Universal relied on Diesel for everything from laying out story structure to picking out the songs for the soundtrack. He even turned down the opportunity in Too Fast, Too Furious, saying, so this is why he's not in Too Fast, Too Furious, saying that he would have taken more of a Francis Ford Coppola approach to the sequel as opposed to just rehashing the original idea. So that is his rationale for not coming back for Too Fast, Too Furious. Because originally he said, we don't need to make a sequel because this movie was great. We don't, which I do think the first movie stands on its own.
Yeah.
But then Too Fast, he was like, the reason is because it's not a Godfather to Godfather 2. Because in his mind, Fast 1 is Godfather 1, and he wanted a Godfather 2 for Fast 2. Then this is his quote about more Fast 7. He said, that's something that I'm proud of, that aesthetic. That took a lot of work. We had to get there, and sometimes at that time, I could tell I could give a lot of tough love. Tough love. Okay, let me just restart that sentence. Okay, he said we had to get there, and sometimes at that time I could give a lot of tough love. Not Felliniesque, but I would do anything I'd have to do in order to get the performances in anything I'm producing. This is kind of in response to his beef with Dwayne Johnson. And if you don't know who Fellini is, he's an Italian filmmaker from like the golden age of Italian cinema. And so him comparing himself not only to Francis Ford Coppola, but also Federico Fellini is just so entertaining to me.
That's awesome.
And because Vin Diesel believes truly that these are the best movies. He also said of Fast and Furious 7 that this will win Best Picture. Like he knew it would. He said it with like 100% confidence, which obviously it did not get nominated, I don't think, for any Oscars. But you know, I just wanted to share that with all of you because Vin Diesel in his mind, I mean, I have fun with these movies. I have a lot of fun with these movies, but I don't think they're like genuinely excellent, but I do think they're fun. Yeah. Vin Diesel in his mind thinks that these all should have won Best Picture.
Well, and I was telling Niall, it's kind of like giving the guy who made The Room, what's his name?
Tommy Wiseau.
Oh,
Tommy Wiseau, like millions of dollars to make a huge production. Like
a huge franchise. You know? It definitely, it like, absolutely is.
Vin Diesel believes that he's making amazing films, and you know, in some regards, he absolutely is.
Yes, for sure.
Is he making Academy-worthy films?
No.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? Yeah, certainly that's not our place.
Yeah,
but also, what is an Academy-worthy film? You know, because there's Shape of Water.
That's true.
That's an Academy-worthy film.
That one
doesn't
mean
that it doesn't suck.
Crash won Best Picture in 2006, and it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
I remember. I read a thing about that. I'm not gonna see it. But
no, it's not worth watching.
Anyway,
it's horrible.
Okay, now that we get into, we're gonna talk about this movie, which is very Fellini-esque. It's very
Coppola. It takes the Coppola approach.
Paul Thomas Anderson, you can see a lot of him in this movie. Yeah.
Name a visionary director, and there's elements of him in this.
There's a foot shot.
There's some Tarantino. Yep.
So
this is where spoilers from here on out. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't want to hear about that, spoilers. So first thing I want to talk about is the thing that I had maybe the biggest problem with, but also was on the edge of my seat for, which was the self-propelled rolling ball through Rome.
Oh, dude.
It just never slowed down.
Yeah, I mean, hey, there you go. That's a page out of, you know, Indiana Jones or Fight Club, right?
Except throughout the whole city.
Yeah.
I love how he skirts his way down the Spanish steps and just like his little dance his car does on the Spanish steps in Rome.
It's awesome.
Like, okay, cool.
But here's the thing, that scene, while it was so ridiculous that it was like, it wasn't even about like, let's make sure this bomb doesn't kill people. It was, we need to save the Vatican.
The Vatican.
Like,
we have to get it into the river.
It felt so weird that was the goal. But then also, truly, every time you thought it was done, something else happened and it kept going, you know? Mm-hmm. And honestly, for a big action sequence like that, that's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
I don't want it to just be a simple solution. It truly was. There were multiple moments where I was like, how are you going to get out of this? You know, like,
oh yeah.
And I felt like it was a very creative action scene that while it was totally absurd and stupid, and the way that they got out of it was ridiculous,
right.
it still felt like, Well, yeah, it felt like,
Oh,
okay,
dude.
how can we take this situation and make it worse? And how can we make it seem like it's almost there, but then something else happens and it keeps going? Like, it felt like they did a really good job of pushing that scene forward, and I was all into it.
There's some artistry to it.
There
True
is.
right?
Yeah.
Like when he does use the crane,
Oh my
it
gosh.
was
It's not what you
creative.
think.
I
Not what you
was
think it's gonna
laughing
be.
so much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He lands it, which is great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
Well,
all
like,
practical.
you see a ramp. You see a ramp on the bridge when he's driving onto it, and you're like, okay, he's gonna push the ball off of the ramp.
Mhm.
Somehow your brain is like, that's a reasonable thing, so that's what he's gonna do. Of course, that's not what
No.
he's gonna do. He's gonna drive off the ramp, and somehow it's gonna work.
It's gonna knock the crane around, so the counterbalance hits the
Oh.
ball into the timer. I will
So
say I
funny.
actually really had a lot of fun with the Rome sequence because I've walked all of those streets. Like I'm very familiar with everywhere they
too.
were shooting that
Last
stuff.
week.
Yeah, like you as well.
Yeah, you were there.
And so it was very cool to see it all. And I was like, man, honestly, the only thing I didn't like about it is that I couldn't have been in Rome at the time of the shooting. Like,
Yeah.
because I would have loved to have
Mm.
watched them film this stuff. It would have
That
been
would've
so
been cool.
fun. Because a lot of that is CGI, but some of it is 100% on location. Like they're shooting in Rome. Like they have
Big time.
the Colosseum and all that stuff. It was really cool to see that. And I was like, I've literally walked down those streets so many times. And now I know that this movie that I
That's fun.
ironically
Yeah.
kind of semi unironically like /
I think-
love was filmed there.
Yeah, that scene is when I really started laughing, and then I didn't stop. Right,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Because right after
That whole
that was
thing,
the
and
Little
then-
Miss Nobody scene.
well, the Miss Nobody, but
Ugh.
also like those cool down shots after the sequence of him like looking at the Colosseum and stuff,
Oh,
and then
Mhm.
looking over Rome.
dude.
It's
So
just like
cool.
so funny.
It was sweet. Him and Helen Mirren, who's just inexplicably present
For one
He's
scene.
like,
Yeah.
he is like the most wanted terrorist, and he's just standing there, and a helicopter
out in
flies
the
over
open
him
in front of it. It's so funny. Okay,
So,
you
give me
mentioned
a-
something.
Oh,
Oh.
so just one refresher. Did Luke Evans's Shaw character, is he dead? I don't remember if he died or not.
I don't
Jason
know.
Statham's brother. Because I know he got
Oh,
he got
man,
crushed
what's-
by the building, and then they were both in 8 or 9 or 7.
Oh, I
can't
can't
remember.
remember.
If they're not really part of the family, then I don't really keep track.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't remember him super well.
I can just
It's
look
been a
it
while
up,
since
but
Speaking
I-
of
six.
speaking
Yeah,
of
go
the
ahead.
family, they're gonna need to get a bigger backyard at a certain point because
Yeah.
this family is growing at an exponential rate, and they're not gonna be able to fit everybody at the next
And
barbecue.
if they lose someone, they gain back 2 more.
Yeah, dude.
And we're still missing people.
Oh yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
everyone in the Fast Saga
Mhm.
that were, that was the big Infinity War, and then
Yep.
this one was even bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what
so
I wanted to-
he's not dead.
He's not
Continue,
dead.
but yeah, he's
Okay.
not dead.
I wanted to bring something up. I just want to nip this in the bud early so that we can get back to talking about everything that was great about this movie.
Mhm.
My one like actual complaint coming out of this movie is that it seemed to stray from kind of the tradition of other Fast and Furious movies of relying pretty like almost entirely on practical effects when they can be done practically. Where this movie seemed to have a lot more shots that could have been done practically done with CGI. For
Yeah.
example, the going down the steps thing. That was pretty obviously a CGI car, where
Yeah.
I'm like,
Mhm.
they could have kind of built some like Spanish steps set and
Yeah.
figured out a way to do that practically with the budget that they have, but instead they did it CGI, probably just because it was way easier to do.
Oh,
And like,
yeah.
I get that, but at the
Especially
same
with
time,
COVID, shooting during COVID was
Yeah.
just like so hard.
but I miss the days of Fate of the Furious, where all of the cars are raining out of the parking garage.
And they're actual
And
cars.
it's actual cars that they launched out of a parking garage. And I kind of felt like that was missing from a lot of sequences in this movie.
Yeah.
So that's my one complaint.
Okay, I'll
That's
kind of take us into the next place because I leaned over to Niall pretty early on and I said, I think this group is just the group the writers didn't know what to do with.
Mhm.
And that was the Han,
the Tyrese,
Tyrese, Ludacris,
and the lady from
Ramsey.
Game of Thrones.
Is that her name?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah,
Is that her
Ramsey,
name?
Yeah.
Man,
No,
they
had
just did
no
not know
clue.
what to do with them.
Nope,
Yeah.
not
But
at
the
all.
Just kind of
audience
wandering around.
loved them.
I
Oh,
can't
dude,
believe
They
Our
were
audience-
busting up.
So there were a
every
lot of
time
kids
Tyrese
in
said
our theater.
something.
dude.
And they loved the Tyrese Ludacris stuff, which, by the way, I feel like 7 is where they really were like, hey, Tyrese, we're going to make you like a little funnier, because he was always funny, but they
Yeah.
kind of started really leaning into it there. And then 8, they really leaned into it, and it was still like in the pocket, and it was
Yeah.
nice.
And
But then
9.
with 9, it was like, this is way too much.
Yeah.
And in this movie, for me, it still felt like way too much.
Horrendous. Truly,
the
his
audience-
dialogue was what killed me the most, other than
Seeing
Jason
this
Momoa.
movie with kids in the theater, I really think saved a lot of those scenes for me.
Yeah.
Because
That's
hearing
interesting.
kids laughing out loud and
Like
for a long time
hysterically.
at all
Really?
of the
Mhm.
Tyrese stuff.
How, dude?
Well, there were adults as well. Like,
Yeah,
there
that's
were adults
fair.
who also found it funny.
But it was interesting to me to kind of realize, is this a kids movie? Like, because
I don't know.
because
I don't
hearing the
know.
kids
It's not
laughing,
like-
I was like, this might be a kids movie.
Yeah,
I don't
mean,
know.
But yeah, so
I have no clue. But that was the group that they're just like, okay, so I guess you're underground, and then you'll go in a shipping container, and then
Yeah.
you'll go meet up with Pete Davidson.
Yeah, for
And then
5
you'll-
seconds for some weird, totally unnecessary scene.
and Han will get inconsequentially high.
yeah.
For
Like
a
high that you
second.
think is maybe gonna play into something, and then it just doesn't. It's like, okay.
It just goes
Weird.
away.
Like, cool. That's fun.
And then they have to go and reintroduce our boy Shaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in one scene.
He's in one scene, and then that's the end of seeing any of those characters, I believe.
No, because they die.
Oh, that's
Allegedly.
right.
See, that's
Then
what I
they're
wanted
in
to
the
talk about too.
plane.
They're in the
Yes,
plane.
thank you.
That plane blows up, crashes into the side of a mountain, and
Because
then
of freaking
we
super
don't
cop.
see what happens. We don't.
Hey,
I mean, obviously they didn't die.
no
I mean,
body.
Like
Yeah,
there's
there's
they
no
just
way they
crash
just
in.
killed the majority of the
Of the
cast.
yeah, exactly. And then we cut to the whole Vin Diesel and his son
Yeah.
with the dam blowing up, and then it's
Yeah.
the end scene in the snow, and then that's it.
Yeah,
And I was
that's
like,
right.
They just don't I mean, they jumped out of the plane or something last minute, obviously.
Sure, of
But it's
course.
like, what? You're just gonna show the plane blow
Hey,
up?
that's
it?
a Thanos snap right there.
And that, I think, again, is what they're trying to do. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
half the cast is dead, guys.
Well, here's this though, because that's what I'm talking about. This ending scene, all of the action with Vin Diesel from the third act, basically, the stakes kept getting raised.
Yeah.
And they did a
Third act
really
was the
good job
strongest.
of raising the stakes without it being like Dante's like, and now I'm gonna blow up the world or something like that. It's like, no, it's personal, but like, first of all, John Cena's sacrifice.
I don't think
My
he's dead
jaw
either.
was on the
Mine
floor.
too.
I could not believe it. I think that he's gone. I really do. I
okay.
think that he's the death.
We've
that
seen
they're gonna
someone get
stick with.
shot in the head and live.
that's
I think
That's
he's
fair.
not dead, but at the same, I could see him being dead because he's not in the beginning scene with the whole family. He's only in scenes with the kid. So he
Yeah.
must have had scheduling issues or something. But I find it so odd that they introduce his character in F9 and then just kill him in the next one without interacting with any of the other main characters
nah, bro.
Man,
Doesn't
when
matter.
did he have a change of heart? Was that?
at the end of 9.
At the
I
end of
just
9.
don't remember the end of 9.
Yeah,
at
he
all.
changes at the end of 9 to fight the Russian kid or German kid or something.
It's very interesting that all of the villains from the last 9 movies have become allies, including Charlize Theron now.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
So-
they do mention that with the new guy of the agency or whatever,
Yeah.
yeah.
and he's like, you just have a beer with him in the backyard, and then you're part of his cult family,
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
even-
in the scene on the bridge when he's
Yeah,
like,
Dante says
like, well, no, when that same guy was like,
top guy.
Dom, like, here's a gun and throws it to him. I was like, what
Oh,
a
yeah.
180. But then they 180'd me again.
Yeah.
Yep, it was sweet.
With the big old
Well,
That
reveal
twist
in
was
that
just like,
shot of
okay,
Dante
like,
with
I
the safe, like in the
did
safe
then he
hole,
will- yeah,
see
yeah.
it
and then he
coming.
shows up. I was like,
Dude, I really didn't see it coming though, because of how this series has led us to just believe, okay, people
they're
will just,
actually part
when
of
it's
the
convenient,
families. Yeah.
switch sides.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
And so I was
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, great.
Sure,
Like
yeah.
they're working together now. I totally bought it.
Me
And
too.
they totally switched us around, and it was great.
It was
Dante
awesome.
even mentions at a certain point, like, you always just think that the people that you fight are just going to have a change of heart and join your family or something. Like he
Yeah.
mentions it
He
in
does.
a very on the nose way,
Yeah.
and I loved it. But then you get to the dam. You're like, okay, he's driving off the edge of this dam.
Yeah.
Drives off
Absolutely.
the edge of it. It's great. There's the explosion that chases them down the
Yep.
side.
Which was awesome.
But then you're not done, because you see the plane crash, and then Dante starts a detonator for all of the bombs on the dam, and the movie ends.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I'm totally in. I have to see what happens next.
I
They're
I
doing a
too.
good
Me
job
too.
of
But it's
building
2
that
years.
tension.
It's 2 years in the next one. The next one is
Oh,
until
what a
2025.
shame.
I don't know.
I
Yeah,
think
this
they'll,
one-
if they are doing 3 parts, they'll shoot them both back to back, and I imagine they'll do a 2025, 2026 release, both in May again, because that seems to be when they release these movies. But yeah, the whole switcheroo at the end, like the plot twist, I guess, I didn't see coming, but I also wasn't like, oh wow, I'm so shocked that this happened.
Sure,
It
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
okay, well, he's been a villain the whole movie. I mean, villain. He's been
Yeah.
against them the whole movie. And then he's not for like 10 minutes, and then he's back. So it's like, okay. I mean, cool.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about him, so that actor's name is Alan Richson, and he and Jason Momoa are now, I assume, the main villains of the next couple movies. They have both played Aquaman in different in
Iterations.
different projects. Yep.
Interesting.
Jason Momoa,
Ah.
obviously Aquaman from the movies,
From
but
the
Alan
DC.
Richson played Aquaman in the TV show Smallville. So I thought that was very,
Interesting.
very
That's very
interesting.
fun.
Yeah, they're
That's
both
good.
Aquaman. Like
That's why they're
Aquaman
blowing
actors.
up the dam.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
So I
Gotta
thought that
kill
was
him with
very
water.
fun. They had the 2 Aquamans teaming up. I was actually really into that. I think that'll be a good villain duo for the next ones.
Yeah.
They're cool.
the-
He was
yeah.
my favorite, by the way.
I
Agent
agree.
Tsugai.
Actually, I really liked his addition. Like
he
his
was-
acting was the best in that it was the least bad. in
Oh,
my
really?
opinion.
See, I thought that his was the worst.
Really?
I-
Dude,
okay,
I thought
so
Brie Larson
Paul,
was the worst.
There's
She
a scene,
did not
I
care
want to address.
at all.
the scene with him and Brie in a room that can only be described
Mm.
as Cerebro from
Mhm.
X-Men.
Yeah.
Just this weird, like, dark dome room with a platform going into the middle, and then just screens floating around them.
And it's
And
like,
the
this is the
camera-
exposition
The
scene.
camera just
Yeah.
relentlessly spinning around them.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
were talking so fast. What I said to Jared was basically, it's like they filmed the scene once, and the director was like, okay, we need this scene to be half as long, but we're not cutting any of the lines.
Yeah.
So you just need to get through them, because
Yeah.
it really felt like they were like almost stepping on each other's lines, just trying to get their words out. It was so fast. I was getting whiplash from just how,
Just-
and it went from like the Rome explosions and stuff directly to that, and then back to Vin Diesel with Helen Mirren. And it was like, this is just, the pace is insane, and I don't understand it. And that scene with him, I loved him, but I thought that he just seemed like a caricature. He
Mhm.
seemed so ridiculous. And I guess that's kind of
That's
the
the-
point, you know?
yeah, that's-
yeah, that's the
that
point.
Why we're here.
he seemed so like silly and over the top, just like cop guy, you know? You know what he reminded me of? Did you guys ever play with Rescue Rangers when you were kids? You know those toys that, here, I'll pull up a picture of Rescue Rangers and show
That
you, because you'll
sounds so
probably know what I'm
familiar.
talking about.
He was
But he
very
looked like a
large as well.
rescue
He was
ranger.
very jacked.
He was
He's
massive.
also
Yeah,
Alan
he was
Richardson is the
huge.
Jack Reacher on Amazon Prime. I don't know if you guys watched that. He's the main character of that.
Mm-mm.
I have
It's
never
not
watched it.
Rescue Rangers, it's Rescue Heroes. Rescue Rangers is Chip and Dale.
Oh, of course.
Rescue Heroes are these
Oh,
toys.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Remember
yeah,
these?
yeah,
With
of
the
course,
big
of course.
hands and the big shoulders.
Yep.
He looked like a rescue ranger or a rescue hero.
A rescue hero.
for sure.
Yeah.
So
When they make Rescue Heroes the movie live action,
Yeah, let's get him.
I'm
Let's
excited.
cast
Let's
that
get
guy.
him in there. I want to talk about the last two cameos of the movies, which are returning characters from previous.
Yup.
Yeah.
Again,
Extra spoiler warning.
extra
right here.
spoiler warning.
Here
This
we
is
go.
what you're there to see.
So again, why I think none of the characters who allegedly died in this movie are dead, because Gal Gadot is back, and it's like, okay, she
She
fell
was shot in the head on camera.
and fell out of a plane,
then-
right?
No, it
I
was
think.
off of a moving car on
That's
the
what it was.
runway.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, she's alive somehow now because I guess she's not doing Wonder Woman anymore, and so she needs a new gig.
Got time.
So
yeah.
she's in Fast now.
Bring me back.
Yeah.
Needs a new
He's back.
franchise.
I was kind of suspecting it because they were talking about Han's dating life. They're
Yeah,
like, oh yeah. I was like, I wonder if that's just building to the fact that like, oh good, now I don't have to date again because Gal Gadot is back. But they didn't even meet in this movie, so
And they
I'm sure
also
they'll-
didn't do anything other than he set up a profile.
yeah, he set up a profile and one of the other guys mentioned it briefly.
Yeah.
Again, just egregious dialogue. And then, of course, the mid-credit scene, which,
Uh-huh.
if you will remember, we talked about this when we did our episode, and I was like, I will bet you any amount of money that The Rock shows up. He's coming back. I don't
I was
remember
like,
my
no
exact
way.
wording, and everyone was like, no, the beef is too real, and I'm like, they're gonna make it. They're gonna somehow get around it with money or shooting on different days and just green screen each other, and who knows how they're gonna do it. But he's back, baby, and I was like, oh, I knew it. I knew he was coming back. And it's like, you can tell it's him. They clearly didn't do a
Well,
body
yeah,
double when he
right
has the
when they-
mask on. His
Yeah.
forearms are just, you can't,
Yep.
they're just so
right when you see
recognizable.
that big meat sack of a body, you're like,
Exactly.
okay, that's
And then his
not
line
gonna
is
cheer
just-
until they show his face.
Yeah.
But
Did
I
people in
already
your,
know who
did
it is.
people in the audience cheer? I'm genuinely curious.
Not at that.
I don't
Honestly,
think
there
they
was
did at
more
that.
hype for Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I don't know if people are following the behind the scenes as
Yeah,
much
that's
as
true.
like we are.
Mhm.
They just know, oh, that character is dead in the universe and now
Yeah.
she's back,
And
versus
yeah.
this character was just doing other stuff and now he's back.
Yeah.
So-
Man, him being in it is very interesting. I'm very curious as to what they're going to do. What I'll say as well is back in February or March, he was growing the Hobbs goatee. And I saw that and I didn't even process that he would be doing that for like a scene. Because I was like, oh, cool. The Rock is growing a goatee. Because I follow him on Instagram because he's just highly entertaining.
Yeah.
It's just so funny.
I'm
seeing
sure
his
it's
posts.
good.
And so I saw that goatee, and then when he has the Hobbs goatee in the scene, I'm like, duh, that's why he was doing it. Which also makes me think this was a very last minute addition. This was not like planned, because
It was
if
like
you
in
film
the
that
last
scene in
couple
March
months.
or February. That is very recent. They added him in the last possible second. So I think that's for a couple of reasons. One, because he's not getting Black Adam. Black Adam is done. If he had been able to continue Black Adam, I do not think he would have gone back to Fast.
Interesting.
And the other
Man,
thing,
these DC people just
these DC people honestly are
Walking
just
back.
going back
Yeah.
to Fast, or just because Jason Momoa, there's a rumor that Aquaman 2 is going to be his last DC, like as Aquaman.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
No way
so-
it's not. There's a rumor. Come on. we
Yeah,
all
it's
know.
like apparently it's horrible. And
if
so
Aquaman 2 even gets released at this rate, like
that's honestly, that's like a
Seriously.
thing that's in talks, is just not even release it. which would be
really,
wild.
it's
I
after
would
Flash,
not be
right?
surprised.
It comes out in December. Yeah.
Yeah, so
It was
So I would-
supposed to come out in like 2020.
2022. It was supposed to come out last
Oh,
year,
okay. Either way.
but it got pushed a year and a half.
practically.
Like it was like summer of
Mm.
last year.
Yeah.
And then it got
Oh,
pushed to
because
the
it
end
was
of the year.
this was the one where they, sorry to make it a DC thing, but
No, you're
they
good.
at the beginning of the year, DC made this whole
Exactly. Yep.
trailer of like, look at all of these movies that are coming out in 2022. And then literally like the next week, everything just
Got
got
pushed back.
totally destroyed and pushed back. And only like one of them was even going to be in 2022.
Yep. It was
anymore.
just Black Adam because they put that before the Batman. And then
Yeah.
it had Flash, Black Adam, and Aquaman. And then they're like, lol, just kidding. And pushed
everything back.
well, they pushed back Black Adam a few months. So it was
Yeah.
barely came out last year.
and
And then
pushed
Flash and Aquaman.
Aquaman like
June
a
and
full
December
year, and
of
then they
the
pushed it
next year.
again later on. Like,
Oh,
oh, so funny to me.
makes me
Anyway,
have no
I'm
confidence.
excited for her to be back
yeah, me
because I
too.
just want my
Ex-
boy Han to
Han.
be happy.
Me too. They brought
He's
them
the-
both
Solo
back.
needs
If
someone
there's
to love.
one character I care about in these movies, it's Han.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Brian for sure. Now it's Han, you know.
See,
For
that's
me,
another
it's still
thing.
Brian. It's
It's
little
still
Brian.
because Brian is mentioned multiple times in this movie.
Yeah.
Little Brian is the future of Fast and Furious. They're gonna make another one.
I
That's called-
totally see that happening.
Fast and Furious, the next generation.
I also see Brian coming back with deepfake his brother. Same thing
Yeah.
they did in Furious 7, which I don't want to happen. But again, it's like he's alive and around in this universe, but he's just not showing up to these family parties. Like at the
I think that's
beginning,
so
Pikmin,
funny.
he's just not there, but Mia is there.
Yeah,
And
there's
it's
like
like-
an empty chair for him.
Yeah,
Which
it's like,
I do think is
okay.
like sweet, you know, and like
Yeah.
a nice kind of homage to the character.
Yeah.
But I just
It's dumb
Don't
that he's
bring him back.
alive. Yeah, it's like
yeah.
in universe because he's dead in real life. And so it's like, yeah, that would be a lot sweeter if they weren't constantly talking about him being around. Like
Yeah.
Vin Diesel has this totally throwaway line where someone says,
Brian.
"Oh, we need to get you safe." It's like, yeah, Brian and I are safe. It's like,
My
You-
friend
what?
Brian,
Oh,
you're my
okay,
family.
cool, just
We're
random
safe.
name drop.
We're both safe. My
You
son's
gotta
name,
look after Brian.
my
Mia.
son's name is Brian too. I'm starting a company called Car.
what is Brian and Mia's kid's name?
I don't know,
Dom,
They have
David or
one or
something.
two kids.
Dom, Dom baby.
Dom,
Yeah, they
baby.
definitely have a
Ugh.
son
I named my son
Yeah.
Brian. You named your
who's
son
not in
Dominic.
this, I guess. He's just with the Brian.
Yeah,
Probably.
that's I think is the thing is like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, he's with Brian because that was the line they used in 9, I think, to talk about why he was absent. Because
Yeah.
Mia isn't in 8, and then she comes back for this one and whatever. I do think Dom will do an Iron Man and sacrifice himself to save everyone. I do see him dying at the end of this franchise.
I see him dying and then coming back.
I see him coming back.
Seven
If they were
style.
gonna-
3 days.
Yeah.
7 style. Oh my gosh.
Oh my! Can you
He
imagine?
writes
Also,
that in.
I
And it
just want to
says
say
3
real
days
quick,
later.
this
Oh.
movie was the most Christian one by far.
Oh yeah, by far.
It was crazy. I was like, this is like,
Even just the Vatican.
well, yeah, like
they
we
were
need
so-
to save the Vatican.
Yeah.
Like it was so funny to me that was like the thing that needed to be done.
Yeah.
Save the Vatican. And like
The
they
cross,
just really
the
leaned
back
into
and-
the cross on this
Yep.
one.
Oh, yeah.
Like
when
this was the most Catholic movie I've seen in a long time.
I
And it
think
didn't even have Mark Wahlberg, who's like the most Catholic actor.
I know.
that's true, but maybe
They
this
talked
was
about
their
Mark Wahlberg.
They did.
That's true.
They
I
did.
was
do
like,
that.
maybe this is their call to get him in there.
Yeah,
A couple things while we're talking about Dom. There were some lines, and we keep making fun of this, but there were some lines where I truly could not understand a word Vin
No.
Diesel was saying.
Yeah.
Same.
And Niall and I both in the theater like just leaned forward and put our
had
ear
this-
to the
Can we just get that one more
This
time?
running joke.
yeah, it's just
Or
running.
Just
more
had
time.
to kind of
What?
like lean because there were so many scenes where he was
He's
just
like,
rumbling quietly.
Said that I'm
Oh.
never scared of anything.
I got Rome. I got Roman and Rome.
Like what? What did you just try to say?
I really hope he directs Fast 12.
Oh,
Because
me too.
That
Louis-
would be
Louis-
awesome.
Or Louis,
Leterrier.
whatever this guy, yeah, whatever, however you say his name, the guy who directed this
Leterrier.
is directing 11. And if there is a part 12, I pray genuinely, I want him to direct the
would be
last installment.
You know
I
that
want it
if
to
he
happen
directs
so
the
bad.
last one, he's gonna put his arms out and levitate like he's in a Creed music video.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Well,
be awesome.
I did say this to Niall as well. Is I
Yeah.
truly want by the end of this franchise for someone to shoot him and the bullet to not penetrate his skin.
Luke Cage
I
style,
want him
just
to just
crumple on
bullet
him,
bounce off. I
grab
wanted
the
there
bullet
was a
off of
scene
him and flick it away.
there was a scene where when they were at the
He
bottom of the
tries to
dam or like getting ready to go off
shoot.
the dam. I was like, I hope Dom flies here. I literally hope he just raises up and just flies. Like, it felt like Dom is just about to fly in this scene. It's like, I want it to happen so bad, dude.
Well, dude, after they drop out of the freaking B-52 bomber bay of the passenger plane that they're flying on in the kayak / bat wing,
Yeah.
I was like, all right, well, now anything's possible in this movie. Like,
Which is again why I think Jacob survived. He'll just show up and he's like slightly scarred on half his face. He's like, hey guys, I'm not dead after all.
no, bro, he's gone.
And of all of them that died, he's the one that I think will stay dead, because the other 5 definitely didn't die.
No, yeah, for sure.
I was so perplexed when he died. I was like, he's the newest character. You're already
know.
getting rid of him? Like,
would
And
be
I don't
cool.
think when it's like you can just, slightly bump into someone with your, charger and they do a back like 3 flips, you don't have to sacrifice yourself.
I know.
It makes any sacrifice unnecessary
Yeah.
because of how much they're able to pull off with how little input,
Yeah.
But
So man, him
it
shooting
was
the
powerful.
ground to hop
it
the
was
line.
powerful.
I'm finally stepping out from your shadow. It's like,
Whatever.
dude,
It's like,
you're a character that we barely even care
Yeah.
about.
You were a
You're
villain for
you're
most of the
so
last movie.
new. Oh man. That's the thing. I want to go back to F9 for a little bit. The thing that I really liked about F9 was all of the flashback stuff that they did, where like they filmed it with different cameras and they had different actors playing them. Like that felt like really the emotional core of that movie to me. And it's the one thing that they did well enough that I really did. Like, I joke about us not caring about John Cena's character, but really when he showed up, I was like, all right, like freaking Jacob's here, because that movie did make me care about him,
Yeah, no, definitely.
So,
I
like,
just thought it was kind of
F9 did some things right.
Yeah.
Right.
They never really met. I mean, they have that scene across the freeway where they look at each other, Vin Diesel and John Cena, but they clearly were never on set together. And so I'm curious as to if that was scheduling issues with John Cena or something, or if John Cena is like The Rock, where he's like, I can't stand Vin Diesel. I kill my character off. Like, I don't care. It could be that. It honestly could be.
Like,
dude, I can't stand Vin Diesel.
Same.
Have you guys seen the creepy Vin Diesel interview with the lady?
Yes.
And he's like, he refuses to answer the question because he just keeps saying, you're just so beautiful. How am I supposed to do an interview when you're so beautiful?
Well, even
like,
the one
dude,
on the red carpet we just watched with when he announced that it's a trilogy, he's got Michelle Rodriguez in like a vice grip. Yeah, she just does not look interested.
Very clearly is like, hey, like let me go.
Yeah. That scene where Charlize Theron shows up at his house and he's like, grabs the.
Yeah.
I was legitimately like, dude, he's about to snap her neck in real life. Like, I think Charlize Theron is gonna be murdered by Vin Diesel. Like, his arms were just like pulsating, and he was like, I was like, dude, if I was Charlize Theron, I would be terrified.
It was so silly. The camera shakes. He's like, oh, dude. It was so
he causes
funny.
an earthquake and then like a mile radius.
Speaking of Vin Diesel powers, when he and Michelle Rodriguez have that insanely awkward bedroom scene,
which he like for sure wrote.
He wrote, because it's like, well, she jumps up on him in the first one and a couple of the other ones, so it's like kind of their thing.
Yeah,
but it was like, dude, they're so much older now. They're 20 years older. This looks so awkward.
I know.
And then they're like talking in bed, and he like turns his head. He like has a spider sense.
Yeah,
because it's like he hears something, opens the door, and nothing's there. And then later, Charlize Theron shows up.
Yeah,
like,
it's sweet.
He's
awesome.
He has superpowers. I want to go through and remember all of them and make a list.
Super strength.
He brought down
the car in this one.
Yeah, with one arm.
With one arm.
He's got because in the fourth one he has that psycho like recall where he goes to where Michelle Rodriguez dies and like has a flashback of it.
He does like Batman. Video game sense.
Yeah, it's like the crime
the video game,
like
exactly.
detective scene.
Yeah. And I just want, I'm not even joking, I want him to fly. I think it would just be sweet. So fun if he flew, because it would be like, okay, we're not in the real world anymore. Vin Diesel's character can fly. And then
If
I
Riverdale
still
can do
went-
that kind of stuff,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like
franchise
even if he gets
can.
like an Iron Man suit, which honestly I could see happening, some sort of like mech
Big
suit that he
time mech
gets,
suit.
and he
Yeah.
starts flying around and shooting. Oh, dude, stop!
Dominic Toretto.
Oh my
Hey,
Just-
I have an idea.
yeah.
Here's
man,
my pitch.
let's hear it.
What's Vin Diesel going to be making money off of after these movies are done? Huh?
Residuals.
Here's what he's going to be making money off of. He is going to make a licensing deal with a game that was just announced. Mortal Kombat 1, the soft reboot. Imagine Dominic Toretto with a big wrench as one of the Mortal Kombat DLC characters.
Perfect.
It would be so cool.
Perfect.
It would be he could basically just be Ghost Rider, summons his car, and like rips him in half with it or something. It would be
sick.
sweet.
Oh
He's
yeah.
enough of a superhero that doesn't even feel like weird.
No, it doesn't.
You know,
Like,
to have him in Mortal Kombat.
If he flew at the dam, I would have ate it up.
Oh yeah.
I would have
Like,
loved it, dude. I wanted it to happen so bad. I was like, it's gonna
Fly.
happen. He's just gonna fly. It's so perfect. I will say I do like that Jason Momoa is going to be the villain of the next one. I was really glad he didn't die in this one, and I hope
Or
die or
change
switch
views.
sides.
or
Yeah.
switch sides. I hope he doesn't switch sides either. It
They're gonna
doesn't
have
seem
to
like he will. but
buy
he
another
could.
table and buy some more chairs for that barbecue.
Two things I want to say that were pretty disturbing about this movie.
Yeah,
There's
I wanted
one, the scene where Jason Momoa is just painting the nails of a dead person, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just horrific.
I
There were
was-
kids laughing in the
movie?
theater and everything, and we were like,
kids
"Ugh,
laughing their heads off, and we were like, no,
Really?
this is way
is-
dark.
Oh
this
yeah.
is so
Like of all the things, I'm like, seriously, if this were in a Batman movie and the
It would
Joker were
fit.
doing this,
Yeah,
I
exactly. It
would
was a
be-
Joker
I would
scene,
be like,
100%.
Mhm.
but even then, I would kind of be like, this is a little far, you know? Like this is creepy. Faces all taped up so that their eyes are open. Like it was
Yeah.
gross.
I
Ugh.
was very perplexed by that scene. I was like, what is it? What? He's
just to show how nasty of a boy he is.
Yeah,
Horrid.
I mean, it worked.
Okay, so
I
there's that.
guess.
There's that,
Yeah.
and then the second one is when John Cena and the kid are driving, and the kid just starts murdering people with these
Yeah.
Oh, with the
bombs.
bomb.
And John Cena's like
He's-
dapping him up.
He's like, "Yeah, come on, good job."
He's
He's
like, "Good
the
job,
kid
kid."
like has killed now like 10 people,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
10 years old.
Oh, it was so
Well, that's just the
funny.
expectation for being in Dom's family. You're gonna murder a lot.
You will
He's
murder.
just
You'll be constantly
murdering
murdering
people,
people.
You
and
will
they're like
drift, you will
cheering.
murder.
Oh man, that was
Like that was also just
It was
perplexing.
so funny. I loved it. I loved it. And I loved how like I feel like there are other movies where you just I guess kind of wouldn't think of it or whatever, but there was something about this movie where you were like, no, they shouldn't be letting this kid kill people.
Yeah, yeah.
like a lot of people.
You know, Anakin in Star Wars, totally fine. Totally
Yeah,
works.
it
In the
was
first
yeah,
one,
of course. Yeah.
yeah, little Annie.
If
Yeah,
any,
yeah, because he's blasting people.
Oh,
with
yeah,
his-
he
but
Blasting
it's in
people, he's
space,
blowing up
it's
the
Star
space
Wars, they're
station,
aliens.
Totally fine.
this is
Yeah.
a human being killing
These are-
other human beings
And after
in a
they
world
had
that's
already,
supposed to be ours.
and they had
like-
already done the scene with Dante at the beginning with him and Charlize, where he like humanizes all of the henchmen. And he's like, oh
Oh.
no, all of these people have families and stuff, which
And
I
she
actually
just-
thought was really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a,
So,
that was a
but
pretty cool.
now you're thinking about these every henchman as this person who is obliged to be there because they're trying to save their families that they personally have. So now anytime any one of them dies, it's like, no,
Yeah.
these are people now.
Well,
And-
but with that too, he just kills that one. He's like, yeah, no one loved him. It's like, okay.
Whoa.
Jeez.
like-
Not even a cat.
It's like
I was
like,
also
kind
like,
of a joke,
wow,
but not really.
convenient that the guy that didn't have anyone in his life also was the one that was close enough for you to kill with the knife that you were holding. Like
So-
that was just absurd and whatever. but
just- yeah.
it's just
so
kind of
much
fun.
so much of Jason Momoa's performance felt like he did it in one take and was like, no, that's good. He's like, hey, could we have you say this again? It's like, no,
No, that's all
and I'm
right.
not gonna
I'm
do
fine.
ADR
I like
because it was like him like saying something like as he's like bouncing around, like, ha ha. Oh, by the way, I have your family and I'll kill them as he's walking away. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Dante.
Like,
You're trying to kill
Just
my
and the
I wanna know
Tyrese
who
stuff.
you're gonna
Tyrese
save.
is a very close second to Jason Momoa in terms of worst performance, and Brie Larson is high up there too. But the Tyrese scenes that just kept going, they just kept giving him lines to say, even when he was alone and no one is around. I was
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, dude,
blown away, especially in the first half. That was really where I was just like
yeah.
wincing in agony. Like, how is this
Well,
in this
And
movie?
here's the thing.
So
It's a
bad.
shame that they ruined it with so much bad dialogue, because one of the, I think, better written scenes was the scene where Ludacris was like, hey, no, the things that you're doing are showing that you are being a leader. The
Yeah,
concept for that scene is great.
yeah.
But they made both of those characters so just silly and dumb through the movie that it was like the conversation happened, and I just couldn't help but think, like, this scene could have been like one of kind of the great scenes,
Yeah.
like the great
Mhm.
conversations, but it just didn't have the ramp up that it needed,
And dude, that scene where Ludacris and Ramsey are on the computer, and it's like they're supposed to be smart and saying smart things,
And
but the
just-
writers have no clue what to make them
Yeah.
say, and they're
then
just like,
Tyrese
yeah,
says,
just
"We need more
working on the block
computing
train.
power."
I'm doing some computing, and Tyrese is like, "Come on, guys, English." And it's like,
I was like,
that
is this every movie from the 90s?
is
Like,
seriously,
what's
but
happening right now?
the earlier when they're like, we gotta steal a quantum computer, high powered hyperdrive chip, and it's like, oh my goodness,
You're not even
why?
kind of saying something right now.
It was seriously felt like the writers were like, let's take 4 adjectives and put them behind computer chip, and that's how we describe this
Yeah.
heist kind of thing. And that where they were on the computer coding or hacking or whatever, I was just blown away that was the dialogue that they chose to write and then have the actors deliver and then keep in the movie.
I
It
liked
just-
it.
Oh, it hurt physically.
It made it feel like they were smart.
No,
That's
it didn't
true.
feel like they were smart. It felt like someone who thought they were smart wrote dialogue.
I
for them
didn't
to
know what they
say.
were talking about, so it must have been smart.
Yeah, I don't
Because
understand.
I'm
it.
dumb.
They
I'm-
kept talking about
I'm not a
the
I'm
computer
dumb
guy.
audience
blockchain
member.
and like
I haven't learned about
cryptocurrency, and I was
computer.
like, oh. Anyway, yeah, Fast Five. I gave it a 5. I gave it a 5 on Letterboxd because
Yeah, and
I
Pete Davidson.
I either give them a 1 or a 5, and they've all gotten 5s except for Tokyo Trip, which has a 1. And
Howard.
so
Watch it again.
Coward. Watch it
at
again.
Fast X was close to getting a 1
When Pete
at the
David-
beginning, and then a little
Oh,
further away.
okay.
Yeah.
when
And the
Pete
dance
Davidson
scene.
said,
Yeah.
I want
Oh.
cash, none of that crypto. I was just
Exactly.
like, ugh, stop trying to be topical,
Yeah, it's like
just make the car movie.
yeah,
Don't
Oh
try
my
to bring crypto into this.
it was so dumb too. It was just totally unrelated. As though that's just, he's like, hey, I got some Bitcoin. You want me to pay you in Bitcoin or dollars? Like that. I mean, I guess that could be a feasible line for Tyrese to say, but man, did that. Oh, yeah, those characters were poor addition, a
I
poor
gave it
inclusion,
5
but they had to be.
stars,
You did give it 5 stars,
and,
and
it deserved.
yeah,
each
I
one.
think I've talked to. I think I've talked about everything I wanted to talk about for this. I've gotten all
Me too.
my
I think
my
so
spiel
as
out. So
well.
if you guys have anything else, we can kind of wrap
No.
this up. I'm excited. I'm genuinely looking forward to the next ones. It's not going to be like where I'm constantly thinking about it, but when they come out, I'll watch them.
Absolutely. You can't think about the whole race, you just got to take it a quarter mile at a time.
The end of the
Yep.
road has officially begun.
Yep. We've officially gotten to the end of the beginning of the end of the road.
Yeah.
Now we're on to at least
The middle
of
The
of
road.
the end of the road.
the
Yeah.
middle of the end of the road. And then we're coming up on
The end of
the
the
end
end of the road.
the end of the road.
Yep. With
Can't
Fast
wait.
X
Can't
Part
wait.
3 / Fast X 12.
So yeah, I think that's probably a good place to wrap up.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we want to mention?
We got a website. You can go check out our
We got
website.
a
Yo,
website.
we got a website.
Insane that's true.
MancaveMovieNight.com.
I think so.
MancaveMovieNight.com.
Mancave
Probably.
Movie Night with 2 H's instead of a G.
Night.
NIHHT.
Yeah,
not really.
mancavemovienight.com probably.
Yeah. Go look at it. Scroll
The
around.
other thing, are we going to say the other thing also?
Well, it's on our website, so we might as well.
Yeah.
Oh, well then
Guys,
great. Yeah,
we're
Jared, you
doing a
take this.
Patreon
Whoa.
because we want your money.
We get
Give us
messages every
dollars.
day on the Man Cave Movie Night Instagram and on our personal
They're like, how
Instagrams
do we
of people
give
just
you
saying,
money?
I just have this money that I want to give you. How do I do it?
No,
Now,
so
there's a Patreon for you to do it through there.
really the purpose of this Patreon is we have a lot of ideas of cool things we can do, things we want to grow, merch ideas we want to pursue, but we don't really have a ton of capital to put into those projects. And so if you want to support the podcast, we would love to have any support. We're still trying to figure out exactly what that looks like. So bear with us as we make some changes. We will be adding extra content to the Patreon. So
Yeah.
we're going to do our best to make it worth your while with some extra episodes on there that aren't really are a little more like news based or what we're watching based, more
Or just kind of more
conversations.
like,
Yeah, we're just like
kind of,
tangents.
yeah, it'll be a good place for us to take some of the tangents that we normally go on in here that take us away from the topic and just bottle it up and put it into a kind of a side show in there. So
Mhm.
I'm pretty excited to be doing something like that, especially just because, you know, sometimes you want to get more off of your chest than just talk about Fast and Furious.
Yeah,
like
sometimes
our
we
little
wanna-
DC sidetrack
Yeah,
that we had in the middle of this, you know.
And I will say nothing, if you don't subscribe, obviously there's no obligation to, and the show will continue the exact same. We'll still
There's an
do
obligation.
episodes every Monday as often as we can. Obviously we miss here and there, but we're going to be a lot better about that. We're
Mhm.
recording episodes further in advance with more time to edit and whatever else, just get them ready. And so if you don't subscribe, you're not going to lose out on anything in terms of what you're already used to. You're still getting the weekly episode. We're still going to have fun, talk about it. You know, we'll have topical, relevant topics or just fun topics depending on the week. And so the Patreon is not going to be up until like middle to end of June because Niall and Jared are going to be in and out of town for the next few weeks. So if you subscribe now, awesome. But we also aren't going to have anything on there for like a month.
Yeah.
So don't,
It's
like,
up,
it's
there's
just there. It's
nothing
up.
there.
There's just nothing there yet. So
Yeah.
we're just building the infrastructure for all this type of stuff so that when we launch it more and try and like push it more, then we can actually have stuff for you to consume on there, which, you know, is kind of the whole purpose of a Patreon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I-
we've been doing this for 100 episodes plus. We might as well try to do
make some money.
Try
other
to
fun
turn it
things.
into something.
Well,
Yep.
even
We-
like all the money we make for the Patreon, I also want to say this, is going to be put back into the podcast,
Yeah,
at
that's
least
great.
for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Big time.
It's not like we're trying to get any cash because
Yeah.
truly we would not make anything.
No.
It
No,
really wouldn't be worth
for
it.
sure.
So we want
I could
to
say
grow.
my Venmo on here. If you do want to give me money,
If
you
for
just
me,
straight
then
yeah,
I
you
can-
want
I
to
can
have
put my, I can put my
cash
Venmo on
dollars.
there.
That's great.
But if you want the podcast to get better, go to the Patreon.
Yep. And yeah, that's a great clarification. And that money will be used to make merch because it does require obviously capital up front,
Yeah.
marketing, advertising. So we
Trying to
can
promote
promote
game.
our episodes.
build our audience.
Yep. And then we'll make more video content for like TikTok and Reels and stuff like that as we are able to do that. And obviously we have our YouTube. Our Twitter and Facebook exist. I mean, I think we can connect our Facebook to our Instagram, so it just becomes that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll work on all of that. It's all very much like Jared and I just graduated, so we have more time to do this, but we're also doing some like summer trip stuff over the next few weeks. So we're putting more time into like trying to build the podcast now that we kind of have more
And I
time
just-
for it. But at
I
the
just
end of the day,
took
it's just
on
something we
more
do.
hours at work. So
Okay.
I have less time. Just kidding. No, I've
Well,
still
I
got
mean,
time.
you're not in
I was-
school right now, though,
No,
right?
no. I was just joking. I'm fine.
If
Yeah.
you guys still want to support us, but you don't want to do it in a monetary way, it always helps if you subscribe to
Mhm.
our different platforms, whether you listen on Spotify or
Yeah.
Apple Podcasts, whatever it is. If you leave us a rating and if you share us with your friends, let's. If you've got a friend who you just watched Fast X with, send this
Oof.
episode to them.
Mhm.
Big time.
Yep,
Big time.
it's you give it a 5-star, that means the world to us, or a follow on Spotify. Like we can see that stuff when you guys do that. And if you rate and review it, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts as well. It's awesome. We love it. We love to see it.
And
and-
lastly, if you were to go to our YouTube channel and watch the podcast there, you also could comment on those YouTube videos, because that helps the algorithm get them out to more people that watch that kind of a thing. You
Yep.
don't even have to comment something nice. You can be mean to us.
And
Just
you
we
something.
can take it.
But you
We can
should
take
like it. Don't dislike it. Like,
Yeah.
subscribe, ring
like the
bell,
video,
all that.
subscribe to the channel, and comment something mean. Get it off your
Just
chest.
mean, just
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can take it. We'll be
Mhm.
fine. So
Well-
thank you guys so much. That's kind of our big, cool and fun update. We'll get some stuff on there soon. I'm super excited to kind of have some more places to just dump any of our other creativity. Maybe we'll do like, if we're filming
Solo.
future please do nots or something, we can put like
Yeah.
early
Yeah.
cuts of those onto the Patreon.
Yeah,
for sure.
music,
Things like that.
that Niall's making, that Jared's
Yeah.
making, any project, I think it'd be a
like
cool
personal projects as well.
place
Yeah,
to-
absolutely.
to
That'd be for sure.
share.
So
I thought also
It's
about
just
doing
a way
Mario
for you-
Kart nights.
Oh,
that would be
dude, that'd be
sick.
way
And
fun.
hosting,
It's-
put the link on there
yeah,
and stuff.
it's
yeah.
a great way for you guys to pay to be friends with us. So we would really appreciate it.
We're
and-
celebrities now.
Yeah, come on, guys. We
Until-
have dozens of weekly listeners.
No doubt.
There are
Dozens.
dozens of us.
So thank you to the dozens of you. And until next time, we'll see you on another Man Cave Movie Night Monday.
Bye.
And Wasp Fat Jacks.
What?
That came out so incorrectly.
What?
Watch Fast X. If you made it this far without having watched the movie yet, you should watch it. Oh, okay, bye.